Friends, good morning and welcome. Over the next 3 Sundays, I'll lead you in singing Giving Voice to the Spirit songs together for the last few times. The late Charlotte Preston, a member, former board president, and partner of member Mary Kurth, spent many hours with me one day more than a decade ago. We sat in her kitchen together, singing through the hymnals. We were giving voice together, but also we were birthing the idea of bringing more communal singing to the sanctuary. Since then, I've collected many more songs, discovered and shared with you many of their origins and contexts, and now you all know 100 plus songs from the heart. In September, we'll experiment with a hybrid of in-person and online recorded services. Live singing together in the sanctuary will not quite be a safe option yet. And so I'll be laying down that part of my music work here over these next 3 weeks. Today we sing a few more songs than usual. Each Sunday we will do so. I hope you'll sing out with me from wherever you are. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, they've struggled so long. They must be free, they must be free. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. Oh Lord, they've struggled so long. They must be free, they must be free. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. Oh Lord, they've struggled so long. They must be free, they must be free. They say that freedom is a constant vigil. They say that freedom is a constant vigil. They say that freedom is a constant vigil. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. We must be free, we must be free. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body. body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
Good morning and welcome everyone to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. This is a congregation in the free faith tradition, a community of youth, adults, and children bound not by creed but by covenant. I'm Ann Vale. I'm a member of our board and I use she, her pronouns. Other service participants today include Reverend Roger Burkshausen, Reverend Sarah Goodman, Carol Couette, Nico Van Ostrand, and music by Carol Couette, Dean McGraw, and the WBUUC Choir. Aaron Scott, Anna Garys, and Amy Peterson-Derrick are behind the scenes, making everything possible this morning. As Reverend Roger wrote in the e-news last week, we are going into experimentation mode with worship as we look ahead to beginning both in-person and virtual worship on September 12th. One of the changes happening is that after this week, we will no longer be live streaming to Facebook. We hope you will join us on Zoom going forward. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come in. Come into this space which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, loves and hopes, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into the space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together, we make it a holy space. Welcome.
I was really worried about my dad after my mom died in 2011. They'd been married for 63 years. They became best buddies when they were 2 years old with adjoining cottages up north in Michigan. We actually have some photos of them celebrating together my mom's 3rd birthday. My dad was pretty set in his ways when she died, and he had lots of insecurity and anxiety. On top of that, now he had monumental grief. His way of being in the world, I think maybe for his whole life, was not easy. Well, much to my amazement, at a really hard moment in his life, he changed. He started taking an anti-anxiety medication, and this may not be, of course, what everybody with anxiety needs to do, but for him, wow, it really made a difference. He started taking himself less seriously. A twinkle in his eye became quite present. His humor came to the forefront. He did some astonishingly deep and hard soul work. His relationships with my siblings and me deepened in unexpected, rich ways. Those 8 years between my mom's death and his death at the age of 93, 4 years ago last week, well, those years did bring lots of heartache for him and physical challenges, but I believe my siblings and my dad would all agree, and I certainly would, that these were some of his best and most fulfilling years. I sure didn't see that coming when my mom died, and I doubt my dad did either. Let's kindle our chalice flame. May we rekindle our faith that souls, even our own, are capable of growth. And I invite you to join in our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. And wherever you are, I invite you to join in singing what truly is a global Unitarian Universalist hymn, Spirit of Life, number 123, in Singing the Living Tradition.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life shape of justice. Who taught me clouds, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Today I brought with me a special box. I keep a lot of things in this box. In fact, I keep all of the things I believe in here. Everyone has a box kind of like mine with a bunch of different things that we have come to believe inside it. Maybe you have a physical box like this one. Maybe you have a pretend box, or you hold all of your beliefs in your heart. But in any case, all of us have some way of holding our beliefs. Some of these beliefs are about God, about nature and animals and stars, and how life came into being, about right and wrong, and about ourselves and other people, and what is most important in life. It can be hard work to decide what to put into my box of beliefs, but I got a lot of the beliefs in here from my parents and my friends, from my own experiences, even from my favorite stories and TV shows, and of course, from church. Every time I learn about a belief, I decide whether or not to put it into my box by making sure it makes sense and fits in with other things I know and value. And above all, beliefs must never be used to hurt anyone. You'll notice that there's no lid on top of my box. That's because I add to this box every single day, as I have been doing since I was born, just like you are adding to your box every single day of your life too. Sometimes I even have to take beliefs out of my box to make room for new beliefs. And that's all part of the process too. So here are some of the beliefs in my box. I have a chalice that represents the sacred space we set when we light the chalice together. This chalice reminds me of my UU community. I have a stone that I use for our feelings check-in ritual. This calls me to bring my whole genuine self and center whatever I am bringing with me into the space, because I know that others will help me hold it. I have lots of books in my belief box. These are the stories of Unitarian Universalists, the complicated, messy history of faith and love and revolution. From these stories, I learn about UUs who always worked to be on the right side of history. And I have in my box the 8 principles, the UU covenant that helps me make the difficult decisions, like deciding what beliefs to add to my box. Before I add anything new to my box, I make sure that it fits in with these 8 principles. Now, I have other beliefs in my box too, beliefs about how the universe started, what justice means, the energy that connects us all. Unitarian Universalists might have really different things from one another inside their boxes, and our beliefs might change as we grow and learn and experience new things. But regardless of what's inside our boxes, how we hold them matters too. Because our belief boxes, whether real or imaginary, they go everywhere with us, all the time. My box doesn't have a lid, not only so I can always add to my beliefs, but also so others can easily learn what I believe. This is how we learn from each other's beliefs. And I hold my box carefully because I know that the beliefs inside are valuable. They're not worth a lot of money, but they mean a lot to me. My beliefs help me understand the world and make choices that make me feel good. My beliefs are important to me, and so I hold my box carefully. And if my box gets too heavy, which sometimes happens when I'm trying to make a difficult decision or when I'm feeling very, very sad, I can count on other people in my life to help me hold it. That's one of the beautiful things about being part of a community like this one. We can count on one another to help hold our belief boxes when we get tired. Sometimes we need to carry these boxes together because holding new ideas and challenging old ideas is heavy work. We need each other. This is what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Our beliefs matter, but so does how we hold them.
I invite you to join me in a time of meditation. Feel your body as you find a comfortable position. If you find it helpful, maybe close your eyes. There's nothing you need to do in these few moments of quiet, but be attentive and be. These words of meditation come from Susan L. Suchaki. Day by day, month by month, year by year, we are confronted with all that we do not know, that which we do not understand, that which we do not grasp. Sometimes we are humbled by this knowledge and say, God, it is too wonderful for me to comprehend, but I know this universe is more grand and more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. And I give thanks for the blessing of being here and seeing, hearing, experiencing, and sensing all that is so wonderful around and in me. Sometimes we are saddened by this knowledge and say, oh, merciful Spirit, we need to have the burden of hurt and suffering removed from us. Grant us the courage, the wisdom, and fortitude to bear the pain of living. Send us those who will carry our burdens for a short while, and send us those who will comfort us with their healing words and thoughts. Sometimes we are angered by this knowledge and say, in the name of justice and compassion, if it be in our power, give us the strength and ability to right the wrongs, for we do not, nor does any person in the world, deserve this. Sometimes we are made joyous by this knowledge and we say, Spirit of life who blesses our world, we rejoice and cheer for our glorious life. And sometimes we are made curious by this knowledge and say, holy and inexplicable is this life. I have no idea what happened or how it happened, but somehow, some way, something changed, and I am free to explore new ways of being. Please, always, let me continue to search for the unknown in myself and in others. Amen.
Your financial gift to our congregation goes to support the programs we've come to rely on as anchors in our lives. Programs for youth and families, music, classes and small groups, justice work and public witness, pastoral care, rites of passage, and Sunday services. You can contribute to the offering today by sending a check or by following the easy prompt to text to give on your screen and in the chat box.
Deep peace of the running waves, deep peace of the flowing air, deep peace of the shining stars to you, deep peace of the quiet earth.
Our first reading today is The Decision by Jane Hirschfield. There is a moment before a shape hardens, a color sets before the fixative or heat of kiln. The letter might still be taken from the mailbox, the hand held back by the elbow, the word kept between the larynx pulse and the amplifying drum skin of the room's air. The thorax of an ant is not as narrow. The green coat on old copper wire weighs more, yet something slips through it, looks around, sets out in the new direction for other lands. Not into exile, not into hope, simply changed. As a sandy track rut changes when called a Silk Road, it cannot be after turned back from. And the second reading is from Ruth E. Gibson. When you look at a daffodil, there are lots of things you notice. Almost no one ever notices the little withered brown bit at the base of the flower. But it's really important. When the daffodils come up, the ground still is pretty hard and there's sometimes cold and snow. So at first, the daffodils have a tough green skin protecting their blossoms. After it gets warmer, the daffodil doesn't need this protection and it shrivels and dies. Often in our lives, just as for the daffodil, some part of us has to shrivel up and die so that some new part of us can grow and give beauty to the world. Oddly enough, though, the dead, shriveled up part of the daffodil does not fall away. There are two things we can learn from a daffodil to help ourselves and each other. We can be brave and wise enough when the right time comes to push out from under the tough skins of our souls that protect us from all that is hard and harsh, that can damage the more fragile parts of ourselves. We can let some parts of ourselves die so that new parts of ourselves can live in beauty. We can hold on to the shriveled up dead bits, especially if doing so helps us remember to honor and to value all parts of ourselves, all parts of our experience. Just because we don't need that part or that way of being in the world now does not mean that it has no value. It was very necessary to have that protection then, and very good to remember and appreciate it now.
Friends, I'm going to invite you to sing with me in this part of the service for a change. This is the first song that I led in giving voice for our first service together online, way back in March of 2020, our very first online service. And we were all in a new world and didn't really know what we were doing. And this is the one I chose for us to start with. If you get too worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about joy and sing about love and hoping it lasts. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about joy and sing about love and hoping it lasts. Sing about your trouble, sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Now, if you get too worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. Just sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about joy and sing about love and hoping it lasts. Sing about your trouble, sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Just sing about your trouble and it just might pass.
First, I want to thank Reggie Bresh, who purchased my sermon at the annual service auction. What a great topic you gave me, Reggie. The question, do we or can we ever really change? Here are some of the thoughts that Reggie sent me earlier this summer. Can or do people really change? Or are they merely reacting to a different set of circumstances? Our core values and character are formed at a young age. Can we really change any of these, or do we just react as others expect us to curry their favor, to improve our standing? When the chips are down, we really revert to our core beliefs and reactions. Thus, can we really change? If not, why should we keep trying to better ourselves? Now, y'all may not know this about me, but I am a full-on believer that people can change. I am a full-on believer in spiritual growth, in learning new things, in expanding and enriching our outlook on life to make sense of the changing world. I feel like that's what we're here for, to learn what it means to be human, what it means to live in relationship to other humans, to take care of the earth and each other. And that's not exactly what Reggie's talking about, is it? She's talking about the core values and character that we formed as small children in reaction to our parents, the society we were raised in, all kinds of factors. Reggie's saying that deep down, who we are is set before we even reach adulthood. And she says, when the going gets tough, most people revert to these early formative parts of ourself. I don't think she means when the grocery store is out of our favorite jam and we get a little upset. No, I think what she means is when we're in real trauma, real bad things are happening and they're out of our control. In this current time of collective trauma, it certainly feels like people are reverting to selves that are less kind, less flexible, less focused on the well-being of the whole. When we are struggling, when we're exhausted and overwhelmed with doing what we need to survive, it's really hard. to expend the energy to be the best version of ourselves. But folks, I will never give up on believing in the possibility of people changing for the better. And yes, we do change in reaction to others' expectations, to get approval, to fit in, to keep safe. But that's not always a bad thing. Often we're learning something that makes us better members of our human community, integrating a new way to honor the inherent worth and dignity of each and all of us. And sometimes change is made in the breath of a moment, as the poet writes. There's a moment before a shape hardens, color sets, before the fixative of heat or kiln. The letter might still be taken from the mailbox, the hand held back by the elbow, the word kept between the larynx pulse and the amplifying drum skin of the room's air. The thorax of an ant is not as narrow. The green coat on old copper weighs more, yet something slips through it, looks around, sets out in a new direction for other lands, not into exile, not into hope, simply changed. As a sandy track rut changes when called a silk road, after it cannot be turned back from. In many ways, that's change. We cannot turn back from true change. Once something has grown from a dirt track rutted by the years to a paved road, there's not much we can do to turn it back. Once a word has left our lips, we cannot take back the change it stirs in the air. Once our hearts are opened, we cannot close them again. So here's where I'm at, friends. I believe we are all capable of changing, expanding, enriching our core values and beliefs as we gather more information. We are formed as who we are as children, but nothing within us is set in stone. Nothing we believe or understand to be true is safe from change. Not all change will be positive because life really is hard, but not all of it is bad either. We can choose to change our attitudes, our understanding, and our perspective. I also wonder, is who we were when we were young, perhaps just out of childhood, actually a lesser version of ourselves? I don't think that the core of who we are is a singular monolith standing alone on a street corner. What if the core of who we are is more like an apple's core, holding the seeds, our true selves, in a protective pocket in our center, surrounded by the protective fruit of our own growth? When we start to get worn down by struggle, by life, by grief, we start to lose layers. First, the skin, maybe digging down into the flesh of the apple. But the more we've grown and expanded and fleshed out who we want to be, who we are, the more protected those inner seeds are from the harm of the world. And what if our less good self, the part that feels like we're reverting to how we were before, what if that's when we're getting to the part of the apple just outside the seeds? That pocket of extra protection around our inner self, that stiff membrane that's trying to protect the precious inner seeds of life. What if that less good part isn't actually our core, but a protective coating that keeps our vulnerable true selves, those really deep parts of ourselves with needs and desires and raw feelings, from being exposed? Okay, so I've mixed the metaphor or pushed past clear logic, but what I'm trying to say is our best behavior isn't always our truest self, and that our worst behavior usually isn't either. Our truest self isn't immune to change. It, in fact, demands it. We're also not guaranteed to change the things we want to change about ourselves exactly when we want to change them. Here's something that's contradictory, but true. We cannot force ourselves to change, and the more we try to force it, the less likely it is to happen. Psychologist Dodge Ray calls this the change paradox. Obviously, we have to want to change to be able to have internal changes happen, but the more we do it because someone else thinks it's a good idea or because we hate how we are, the less likely we are to make a lasting change. Dr. Ray explains further the part that feels most contradictory. The more I accept myself as I am, the more free I am to change. When we stop feeling false urgency to change, we can find that even when we aren't who we want to be, we are still worthy of love, of compassion, of grace. We can learn that the protective parts of us aren't things that are bad and need to change, but they're like that protective green coating covering the bud on the daffodil, something that helped us to push through the hard times and now needs to be able to break open so we can blossom. And like Ruth Gibson said in our reading, we can be brave and wise enough when the right time comes to push out from under the tough skins of our souls that protect us from all that is hard and harsh, that can damage the more fragile parts of ourselves. We can let some parts of ourselves die so that the new parts of ourselves can live in beauty. We can hold on to the shriveled up dead bits too, especially if doing so helps us remember to honor and value the parts of ourselves, all the parts of our experience. Just because we don't need the part or that way of being in the world doesn't mean that that part has no value. It was very necessary to have that protection then, and very good to remember and appreciate it now. So can we change? Of course. Should we change? Absolutely. Will the changes last? If you let them. So go out there, you beautiful flowers, you imperfect apples, you with the growing edges. Go out there and be changed. And sing our closing hymn, Go Lifted Up, in Singing the Journey, number 1057.
Star
Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
Thank you everyone for being here today. I hope that you will join us at 11:15 in a few minutes for Cyber Social Hour. And there's still room in this afternoon's circle round gathering. If you'd like to come, look for the link in the chat box or in your e-news to register, or send an email to Rev Jack, who will be facilitating our group today. We are sending our love from all of our locations, from Maple Street, from White Bear Lake, from Woodbury. Be well, friends. I hope you go lifted up.